Right, Tuesday night is cheese night. Let's get me on screen. How do I do that? Let's hide that. Nice to meet you, everyone. Welcome back. It's Tuesday, the best day of the week. I'm glad you joined me again for Tuesday night. It's cheese night, and for the new viewers out there, we're about cheese. We're about a bit of fun, a bit of wine. Tonight, we're going to be talking about blue cheeses, some of the stranger blues. Last week, we had the inestimable Marcus Brigstock talking about his favourites, and he had a little bit of Stilton on. This time, we've got someone even more cheesy, the famous Nigel Barden. He has been doing things in food and cheese, the radio top line for, well, not so many years, but he's looking a bit Bill Nye this evening. So if you think it's Bill, put a big thumbs up on the on the chat. So let's get him in. But first, we need to go and find Tracy. Tracy, are you there?
I'm here. Hello.
You must be knackered, Tracy. You must be knackered.
Yes, I took yesterday off completely after 3 amazing days of the British Cheese Weekend. It was phenomenal. It went very smoothly.
I can't believe you managed it. I mean, you and Pat, 3 weeks from standing start. I mean, that is COVID all over. COVID rules. If you can't do it in 3 weeks, don't do it at all. But even so, you got such fantastic. You even got Prince Charles involved.
Yeah, we had His Royal Highness kindly from Clarence House.
He was around the house. I keep telling you about this. I think
they were tweeting, and they were Instagram story, sending Instagram stories, and posting up on their website as well. And then on Sunday, Prince Charles released his favourite cheesy recipe, which was awesome. So that really helped to spread the reach, which was amazing.
Good. But we're hearing some good stuff. Now, we're going to have a little bit of an after party on the British Cheese Weekend from about 8:30. So an extended dish. Oh dear, I'm coughing. No. That is actually a fantastic Peter's Yard cracker going slightly down the wrong way. So from 8:30, we're going to have a bit of a roll down on the whole British Cheese Weekend thing. But let's get Nigel, who I believe is sitting in the virtual green room. Nigel, can you hear me? Look my way, Nigel. Here we go. That this way. yeah. In the middle.
Welcome, Nigel.
Right. Let's see if we can move Tracy around a bit and put her back around, and let's see if we can. So welcome, Nigel. Welcome to Tuesday night's Cheese Night.
It's very exciting. Delighted to be here. What a weekend. Well done, you. I wish I could do this, and give you a big hug, but there will be plenty of reasons to do it later on. But remarkable stuff. There's been a lot of virtual hugging going on, and I really appreciate it. But the work that went on this weekend, it was just impressive, and some of the real highlights. I mean, the Trethowan boys, Todd and Morgan, going through, and watching where the pitchfork cheddar was made. They got 2 cheeses in the top 16 in the World Cheese Awards. I mean, these are remarkably tough.
Yes, astonishing. And pitchfork.
The good news is, the amazing news is as well, they've just posted on Instagram that they've gone back into the dairy and they've started making again from today.
Oh, brilliant.
So they said it's just
come out as well is that as people have been making. Carwyn Adams, it seems like a lifetime ago, from Cow's Typhy, when he put that heartfelt video there online. You can have my cheese. If you can't afford to pay for it, just have it. If you can pay me something at Christmas too, and for a man who was not, quite, he's quite a doer farmer to do that from the heart, and no wonder that they sold out within 10 days and then started making cheese again. And I just think that's what it's all about, because for every success story we're talking about, there are many others who aren't, and dwindling shelf life. We've got some great cheese, and particularly blue and soft cheeses, that we need to be shifting, and we're beginning to. But also, it's putting a spotlight on our great cheesemakers, and that's what you should be so proud of yourselves. You two and Pat McGuigan, from the release from the prisoner, how brilliant he was.
Yeah, we're actually hoping he might join us this evening, so we'll see. So we'll see if he can join us. He says he might be here around 8:20 or 8:30, so that would be good news, and he can tell us what he's been doing. But we're here today, for at least initially, Nigel, to talk about blue cheese. I mean, you and I have seen some great blue cheeses through the times. when I was watching Graham Pradfield talking about the Bath cheese, of course, his Bath Blue won the World Cheese Awards 3 or 4 years ago, something like that.
Here it was 2014.
2000. Oh, good God, we're feeling old already.
2010. In the last, in the last 9 years, we have had 7 blue cheeses have won it.
7 out of 9.
Yep.
Well, of course, the most recent one is David Gremmel's, the Rogue River Blue. Let's. You got some?
I have. I'm amazed. I bet at the bottom of my cheese roll. I've just been keeping it forever. I know it's way old, but every now and then I have that lovely granulated element, because it's, of course, it's wrapped in this fantastic Syrah grape, and then it's been doused in brandy, in pear brandy. I mean, this is a remarkable cheese.
Stick it up to the camera.
Yeah, there you go. Don't
be shy. Come on, stick it in. Get really close.
This is Rogue River. This is the blue. We're dealing blue here, and that was mind.
It's not the best looking piece of cheese you ever dug out your cheese roll.
No, that was a bit better.
Okay.
I mean, it's still eating. Amazing.
Well, we're going to taste 2 cheeses today, and one of them actually is the Queso de Valdeon, which I'm going to put up because, to be honest, this looks a lot more like Rogue River Blue than the bit you're holding.
Yes, definitely.
So this is a maple leaf or a chestnut leaf, I don't know which. Apparently you can make it with either, but Rogue River Blue wraps it in exactly the same. I'm going to get nice and close here. Rogue River Blue wraps it exactly the same way, but as Nigel says, they soak those leaves in pear liqueur, which gives it a really cool flavor and intense, because the cheese is so salty, and the sweetness just comes in and hits it. It's like having a sauterne on your Roquefort all wrapped into one. It's an amazing cheese, and it was a really, really worthy winner. When we get to the World Cheese Awards, normally by the time you get to the last 15 or 16 cheeses, it's really tight. But I think you'll agree with me, Nigel, that last year we felt that one coming, didn't we? It was an amazing cheese to come in storming at the end.
Well, I think just to tell that story very briefly is that up to the last cheese, out of whatever were 4,000, the final 16 that were championed each by the super jury of 16 judges from 13 countries, is that the penultimate cheese was the Parmigiano Reggiano. So, of course, all the Italian cheesemakers.
Italians.
Yeah. 1,000 cheese makers, most of them from Italy. So they were all Italian. And then I did say, wouldn't it be amazing if the last cheese, which had happened with Kraftkar when we were in San Sebastian, Donostia, when this Norwegian blue cheese came up at the end, and the last cheese out of all of them, it swept the board. And this cheese came, and the whole room went quiet. Of course, it was a dead heat. And everyone was looking around, but I knew what was going to happen, because in the eventuality of a dead heat, we talked about it, but the chairman of judges would get the casting vote and then had to retaste the 2 cheeses. And you're looking at the chairman of judges. And of course, like 10 film crew, Charlie there, and our Italian TV presenter, she was there, a food and drink journo. In front of the world. I knew what I was going to go for, but I knew it wasn't going to go down well. Yeah, the Parmesan was fantastic, but this Rogue River Blue, I think with all these cheeses, on the day, every cheese has a moment in time when it is in perfect condition. And that cheese was just splendid and had a couple of extra layers of flavor, and that was what it was. But the room was quiet when I gave it the Rogue River Blue from Oregon up there in Northwest United States above California, but it was a sublime cheese. And after 2 or 3 interviews, John Farrand, obviously organised the World Cheese Awards through the Guild of Fine Food, had to usher me out the back, because when why are you doing this? Why? And the broadsheet, the next day headlines were British food and drink journalists in league with Trump. And I'm not sure if that's quite true. I had to head to Sicily to take to the mattresses, as is
But that's your wife's country, isn't it, Sicily?
Yeah, my wife's half Sicilian, grew up in Italy, and her family are from Palermo, famously anti-mafia judges, so they're not that many around.
So you had protection. That was the key thing.
I was hiding very well, but it was the most remarkable event, an event in Bergamo near Milan. The Italians crowd. It was a really special event. But blue cheeses again coming through. And do you remember? I'm going to remind you of a few of the ones we had. Cornish Blue, Phil Stansfield, 2010. That was a decade after he started producing this cheese. After he started playing professional rugby, he moved from Cheshire to Cornwall because the land was cheap. And eventually there was no money in milking Holstein Friesian cow because the quota had dropped out the market. So he thought, well, I'll make butter or I'll make cheese. Cheese, probably a bit more interesting. I'll make a soft blue cheese that's particularly accessible, he thought, rather than Stilton, to a female palate. And he produced, and 10 years later, and the shoulders went, the jaw went, because his whole life just changed.
It was a man who would face down, a rugby team of 15 men running his way, was a bundle of jelly winning the World Cheese Awards.
Yeah, and Alex James was there, and then let remind you, Montagnolo. Do you remember the one with Italian?
Oh yeah,
made in Germany.
Yeah,
that was in 2013. Bath Blue, you alluded to before, 2014, and then that amazing Kraftkar Tingvaloist from Norway in 2016 when we were in the Basque Country. That was with the cheesemaker there in his Norwegian fisherman's smock jumper, and he came up and it was like
we didn't know he was in the audience, did we? He worked out that he'd won before we'd announced it. He was looking at the score and he just jumped up and we were going and we did not remember, we had to slightly manage the arrival of the local dignitaries to make sure that these things are big crafted events, and this Norwegian in his very Norwegian sweater was on stage going, it was a moment.
It's me, and we heard this fantastic, almost Icelandic cry. He'd been obviously eating the fermented shark and all that, and up he came and he picked me up. You picked him up. It was just, and then when we got the local politician on from that part of the world, it was yet another amazing night. But I'm going early on a drink. This, by the way, is from Biddenden. It's Kentish apple juice. This is a Worcester because if I always, as in my non-alcoholic drink, obviously I never drink water whenever I'm tasting cheese. With the World Cheese Awards, we have lots of slices of apple to try, but I need the acidity of apple juice to cut through the cheese for all of us. And obviously, if it's cider, even better. I've got a little bit of Apple County cider here, and this, well done to you, Ben Colpin, all the crew. I know he wants to shift a bit of that at the moment. And this is Dabonet, fantastic cider as well. He used to be in the rock and roll business. He was a manager for bands. But as a tribute, this is a bottle I brought back. I bought it when we were in Donostia, San Sebastian. And this is a Basque cider, which I've had and I brought back because obviously they produce great cider in that part of the world as well, and great sheep's milk cheeses as well from the mountains.
Do you remember the cider coming out of the big barrels where you stand about 2-3 meters back and you have to basically catch the cider as it comes out of the... Highly recommended. Those people who haven't been to San Sebastian, that part of the Basque Country, they have some awesome food. You know who we should get on? We should get Victoria on here to talk about this Idiathable, great cheese. Yeah. So Nigel, we did get sent to you, I hope, the Pecos Blue and the Beauval. Have you got them?
Yeah, I've got the Beauval and the Valdion.
But you told me you had a couple of your own strange blues in your fridge as well.
Yeah, I have indeed. And while I'm opening them, I wanted to talk about, because I was thinking about great cheesemakers, and some cheesemakers, it was just great that we had Jamie Montgomery on. I loved that fireside chats as well with his family around him. It's a great tradition of as you said, if he's comfortable making cheese, that worries him because he likes the slight anarchy of it all. That was a great moment. But you think of certain people who have made cheese, Roger Longman and Peter Humphreys from White Lake, who are serial winners. But Roger, I mean, he loves goats. He's got his own flock and what have you. But they keep winning prizes with all their cheese. So this could be sheep, goats, cows. These are just great cheesemakers.
They've got a magic touch, though, too. P. Humphreys has moved on. I don't know if you'd heard. And he is now looking for, I think he's looking for his next opportunity So if anybody out there who feels that they want to support a cheesemaker, one of the best cheesemakers in the country is looking for a stable. So there's an opportunity. So what have you got? Oh, Shepherd's Purse, the Buffalo Blue.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a fantastic cheese. When I tried this a year ago, Deliciously Yorkshire Awards, it was in there in the final, and I tried it. And it was just, again, one of those moments, like the Rogue River, is when you just think this cheese, this day, this moment, this hour is just in the best condition. And it was one of the finest cheeses I've ever tried in my life. So I've got some. I'm on BBC Radio London on Friday. I do a live between 11:30 and 12 with Robert Elms, and I've got some. It's being delivered to him, but absolutely.
No, you don't know where your camera is, Nigel. Over to your right a bit. Oh, that's good. Down a bit. That's good. Oh, stop. Let it focus. Yeah. Perfect. So what you're seeing there, which is very typical of not just buffalo blue, but also of goat's milk, is you've got that paler color. The blue is coming across sort of grey green as well as blue, and you're getting these little nuggets of blue rather than the veining. But you've also got that soft edge, which you don't get with our native Stildens, but has been developed quite substantially. And you can name other cheeses. I mean, the Black Sticks Blue, which is a great cheese, about 20 years old at the moment, coming out of Lancashire, is another cheese with that soft rind, where you can eat it all the way to the edge, and it's got that softness, but it's also got that strong combination of sweetness. The Black Sticks Blue is using annatto as well, which obviously gives it a bit more sweetness. But that buffalo milk is hard to make blue. They're doing a really good job. It's not an easy milk to use.
No, and well done to them. But that was, Judy Bell's amazing what they've achieved there near Thirsk, and now with Caroline and Katie, her daughters, they do a fantastic job. But if you talk about blue cheeses, here, this is from their range. Okay, you ready? This is their Mrs. Bell's Blue.
That's sheep's milk.
Yep, there you go. And sheep's. This is their Yorkshire Blue.
Yeah, it's the Harrogate Blue I like. Have you got that one?
The Harrogate Blue.
Yeah, very good. You really have. They sent you a tasting pack.
The Northern Blue. Just, but they just keep winning accolades with all. And then we've got the change, but this is their original cheese, Yorkshire Fettle, which is a great name. Are you in good fettle? I lad, I'm in good fettle.
They're quite funny about that because they got a huge fillip when the Cypriots got the PDO for feta. That meant none of the British cheesemakers could use the word feta anymore, and they managed to get right into the sort of national papers, going, oh, probably a Daily Mail special. Saying we're being oppressed by the Europeans again, but the palaver it caused did them huge. It made it that they think it's a great cheese, but they wouldn't call it a award winner. That they would go for their Yorkshire Blue or the Mrs. Bells or the Buffaloes on that. But it's their bestseller because it's a really good feta style made in the UK.
That was the first cheese that Judy Bell ever made, I think, in 1986.
I'm going to interrupt you. Right? Let's eat. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So we need to bring in. You can choose which one you're going to go for first.
I'll go for the Buffalo Blue.
Okay.
I've got Sam here, my eldest. I'm locked in with 3 Barden boys, 13, 17, and 20. And actually, we are eating our way through a small country every 2 or 3 days, as you might imagine. And my Deborah's, she's very grown up. She's working away a lot, 8-hour conferences. But actually, when I look back, I'm a lucky man to have this time with the boys. They're not shooting off at the end of a meal. They're not special. So I'm ready. So Sam, over you come. This is Sam Barden. Good job he's not standing up because he's your size, Charlie, or maybe even taller. But here we're both distancing ourselves from that barber. Just get your hair in there, Sam.
Hi.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Nice to meet you, Sam. Are you keeping your dad on the straight and narrow?
I am. It's good. He's got a good little setup there. So I'm just nibbling away at cheese on the sideline.
Right. Well, let's choose something and talk about what we're tasting.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. So this is the Buffalo Blue, which I just think is a great, lovely cheese, but it's you've got this.
No, we haven't got any Buffalo Blue.
No, sorry.
Right. Let's give you the whole screen if we can do that. I'm not quite sure how this works. No, wrong one. Here we're coming back. Here we go. Let's
Oh yeah. Immediately beckons you on. It's a lovely, almost like hay. There's an element there. There is that slight astringency from the blue, which I like, but it's not overly powerful. It's still quite creamy. And then it's got quite a nice texture to it, like nice bite, and then it melts. Then it just fills your mouth completely. And that's a beautiful, long, salty, blue finish. And it just craves, well, apple juice for the moment, but I'm going to move on to my Basque cider, because I think that would again to cut through the acidity. But a beautifully made cheese. The biggest problem for them is getting hold of the buffalo milk. You know, where enough herds, because a lot of the herds have actually switched to meat production because they can make more money out of it than the milk. But it does make for an absolutely beautiful cheese.
And also, Joe Schechter down in Hampshire, who's making his mozzarellas and all that kind of thing, has he's doing very well. He's buying a lot of the buffalo as well. So
yeah,
it's short. They don't milk very much. I think they might be wrong about this, but I think we're talking about 7 or 8 liters a day. So they're low milkers, matriarchal herds. They're amazing. I worked on a buffalo farm briefly. They are totally one of my favorite animals. Right, I'm going to come back at you.
Remember the Ingle White buffalo, which was in the World Cheese Awards, number 12 in last time in Bergamo, and that was the one from Karen Lodge in Preston in Lancashire, a family firm of cheese producers and farmers, been going since well, the beginning of the last century, and that was muslin cloth bound, beautiful cheese. We had 4 cheeses say in the top 16. Amazing.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that a bit later, because the British Cheese Weekenders really brought out the excellent cheese resources we've got to make. Right, I'm coming back at you. I've got Beauval, okay?
Yeah.
Now, this, actually, I probably should give you the big piece. Can you see? Right. Yeah. Now, this is a cheese made up in near Melton Mowbray by the Cropwell Bishop team. Now, they, bit like Phil Stansfield, they took the view that they wanted to bring a more modern take on blue cheese, because we've dominated so much by the Stilton character. They wanted softer, so they just basically looked southeast, and they picked up a few influences through France and sort of settled on a sort of I think you're going to call it a British gorgonzola. But look at this, see how gooey that is.
That's fantastic.
Oh, we like that, oh.
It's, I mean, as you undo the wrapper, it starts to run away from the wrapper, and I just love that. It's a very tactile cheese, and I love ones that are gooey and in your fingers. And you know, this is we're talking cheese sex here, and all virtually anyway. Charlie, you always keep your hat on moments like this. I noticed that. Very different.
My secret.
I've got a element of richness from the cow's milk, but you know, a gorgeous, rich, really does fill the mouth, you know, and that's sitting like a contented Buddha in my stomach.
Do you think up these lines in advance so you can just chop them out?
They're all bizarre, but I've got a whole wall full of them in front of me.
Yeah. That's what a professional is. He's prepared. Yeah.
If I see one,
but what I'm getting here is I think native to British cheeses is a stronger taste of butter, and I think that you get that whether you're in Penzance or all the way up in Lincolnshire or wherever, and you do get that with this. And also we get an intelligent use of bitterness, which is something that is quite an adult flavour at the moment. So I really enjoy that. But it's the creaminess and the spice of the blue that brings that sort of quadrant of flavours together that is really impressive, and I love it. It's interesting because we used to get this when I was a cheese seller. And we found that if we bought the little 1.5 kilo wedges, the flavour didn't mature. You didn't get the same texture. We had to buy the wheels, and some cheeses are just like that. They need to stay big for as long as possible, and then when you cut into them, they deliver. And I think that's one of the reasons why you will so often get a better flavour out of a deli environment and not a pre-pack environment, where you can cut a slice from a big cheese and taste it there and then and take it home. And I think that always, not always, but nearly always outperforms.
Yeah, I think that's been one of the big problems recently as well with the supermarkets who've been selling cheese, but they closed their deli counters down. So a lot of the artisans who would sell truckles, whole cheeses, and have them cut, then we're having to send them out as packaged up smaller pieces, which obviously is very labor intensive, expensive, so it reduces the margin, but also it doesn't show the cheeses off as well for exactly the reasons that you've just alluded to. And I think that's a big point.
I don't want to go into the maths, but the problem with delis is you need to charge more to make up for the fact you've got a smaller number of products in a bigger area with people serving. The maths just go a bit ugly, which means you've got to outperform on the flavor front to make the customer want that. Now, for lots of us, that's our awesomeness. And that's why I think there will always be a space for the artisan cheesemongers, and they represent the cheesemakers that we've been looking at over the weekend. Right, are you ready to go for the next one?
Yeah.
Oh, what's that?
Here we go. This is a Worcester Blue Extra. It's called Clementine.
Right.
I got this from Aubrey Allen because, of course, famous butchers they are. Simon Smith and all the crew. They're actual. We know them for their cheeses from Simeon Hudson.
Yeah.
And Simeon Hudson Evans, to give him his proper double barrel name, and then Guy Dimmett, who also helps him out. And that was and that's the Worcester Black Country cheese, and it's actually from Heathgrange Farm, which is at Lower Broadheath, Worcester. But I've been tackling that the last few days and having a slice every night. And again, beautiful cheese.
It does look quite interesting. You've got, it looks like it's beginning to dry up, and you're going to get cracks with the with the incursion there. So you need to do that quite quickly.
And if you let it come to room temperature about half an hour, it's still got enough melt in it, and that's the point. But little slivers of that, so I've just been leaving them around the house, and the kids just scooping them up as they go around, which is, it beats doing illicit.
Now, I want to move on to our second announced cheese, because Ruth at the Fine Cheese Company sent me my bit of cheese 2 weeks ago, and then yesterday had a little bit of a kind of wobble, going, I'm not sure it's still going to be good enough. So she sent me another piece that arrived today. So I've got two cheeses that are identical, but 2 weeks apart. So I'm going to start with this one. I don't think you can see that. It's got a pale whitish character. You can see the needling that's gone through clearly on one side. And this is the case of the Barden. And this is the one that's 2 weeks older. And I don't know if you can see that clearly. Now, to my eye, without you having to peer through the internet's lens, the older one is considerably grayer. Now, one of the characteristics of goat's milk blue cheeses is that they go grey at age, which can put people off, and it's just a colour. It is not flavour. I mean, the flavours will develop with age as well, but it's not an indication of it being off. So this cheese, and the classic one here, of course, is that goes really big and comes from the same area. And Nigel, you remember this is the Cabraleth. Do you remember the Cabraleth?
Oh yeah.
Brutal cheese. Brutal cheese. Get it wrong, taste it's wrong, that it's got this chewing aluminium, chewing tin foil kind of taste, but get it right, it's this explosion of dangerous flavors. Now this guy, the Queso de Valdian, is full flavored, more reliable in that sense, and it's an amazing cheese. So I'm going in. What do you think when you're tasting it now?
Gosh, that's I'm getting alpine pastures on that one because of cows who've had a good summer, because it's got that depth and creaminess to it. But there's that lovely, again, punchy saline hit, but in a controlled way. And it comes at you in layers. And I'm liking these layers. I actually have my cheese. When in the theatre, you have a dresser to get all your costumes ready for quick change. I have my cutter on my left. So Sam's doing a good job. So I just passed the cheese in. And he has quite a good slug of it himself, I have to say. And but it's a great way of doing it. But again, just to see the cheeses, once you've got them up to room temperature, and then that's the key, because cheese coming out of the fridge, it tastes good, but give it a bit of time and then keep trying it. It's like a case of claret. If you have a bottle every year for 12 years, because I mean, who has 6 bottle cases? We're going to be 12 bottles. You can see the growth, and certainly with cheeses, during the hour and a half that they come to room temperature, they change style a lot, and it's something we should remember.
Yeah, it's true, and different cheeses respond in different ways.
Yeah. So finger the looks of that, Charlie.
I like it, but going back to your point of like context means a lot. It would be difficult to go backwards from this Picos Blue. It's a very mouth-dominating cheese. I am getting metallic notes. It's got a grittiness inside the blue of almost like you're tasting the minerality straight from the Picos d'Europa, those mountains where it's made. And this This is a long keeping cheese, which they keep in those caves, in those mountains. It's got a real character to it, but it's not a subtle cheese. It's sort of, I don't want to make it sound aggressive, but it's kind of shouting in your face, going, "Yeah, pay attention to me. I'm a big cheese. This is the moment. Start eating, start drinking." That kind of thing.
That sounds like you, Charlie. But also when you would have that in your cheese board, that's the key. But you don't have it too early because it's going to crucify everything that comes after it. What would you drink with both your blues that you've had?
Well, it's interesting because I think that the Beauval is quite forgiving. You could go for a number of the wines there, darling. Okay. You can go for a number of wines with the Beauval because it's not got that high saltness, it's not got that bitterness, it's got the acidity kind of thing. So I think anything with a sweet bend would work, like the Sauternes of this world. But I also think like a warm red, like with decent fruit notes, would be very good. With this Picos de Valdeon, you're going to need something that's got more. I think your cider, particularly if it's particularly the sweeter end of the spectrum, would work very well. But I've got quite a tannic a wine here, it's holding up nicely against it as well. So,
well, there you go. I've gone down to the Jurassic Coast because I've got a Lime Bay, and this is their sandbar, and they are producing some great wines. This is absolutely Lime Bay Winery in Devon. It's Bacchus, it's one of their top ends, and I just think it's a beautifully well made. But you can taste the almost the sea vegetables in amongst it, all the samphire and everything. It's got that little herbaceous bite to it, but it's got enough crisp acidity and minerality to cut through the richness of these.
Oh, well, there you go. It's interesting when you look at food and drink matching. The cheeses change so much that actually a cheese at a young age, same cheese at a young age, will want different matches to what it wants of knowledge. There is no point in over guessing. You're best opening a few bottles, trying the one that works, and just settling down. Winging it, to use technical term.
I love the fact that the World Cheese Awards are older than the Great Taste Awards. But Bob Farrand, who put them up, John's dad, and he should be 32. This would have been the 33rd year. And it's just, and let's hope it still might happen, but we might be heading off to, northwest Spain later in the year. It's going to take a bit of doing, but they're a great community. And for us, I always think it's the extended families gathering, and it's a bit like, got the naughty cousins and what have you. So it's a bit like Coronation Street meets Emmerdale with a bit of Breaking Bad, and Happy Valley.
Reading Coronation Street meets Emmerdale. You winged that one, and that's crap.
Well, Breaking Bad, good. I thought that was quite.
Okay, Breaking Bad, I'll give you. Yeah, it's a different kind of crack. Right, hang on a second. Sharing is caring, everyone.
How can you do that? That's very clever. You've got a very glamorous assistant we can't see, but I can imagine it.
Yes, I must tell you that the first date with my wife, yes, I have to say I recommend all these. This is better than the older version, and in fact, both of the younger ones are good.
Please bring in your silent partner.
Okay, well, tell me, hello.
Hello.
Hi, Nigel.
Yeah, we're not alone, but well done to you for putting Charlie in lockdown.
Yeah. Right. Now, Nigel, we've actually got Pat arrived. Are you ready to share?
McGoogle's with us.
All right. And we've also not taken any questions, so we need Tracy back to keep us on the straight and narrow there. And let's bring Pat in.
Hello.
Let me introduce Pat McGrigan to everyone. Pat McGrigan is the father, although he frankly doesn't look old enough, of the British Cheese Weekender, and a lot of other friends like London Cheese Month. You briefly described yourself as the UK's only cheese journalist until a few other cheese journalists decided that really wasn't on. But otherwise, tell us about your week, Pat.
My week?
Your week.
It's been it's a bit quieter this week, isn't it, Tracy? After the weekend, the Weekender, the British Cheese Weekender was it was amazing. It was 3 days of online talks and tastings from the country's great cheese lovers and experts, yourself included, Charlie and Nigel. We had cheese makers, cheesemongers, and the whole point of the festival was to sort of raise awareness of the crisis that's facing small cheesemakers in this country and shift a bit of cheese. That's what we really wanted to do, is to sell more cheese. And I think it's been quite successful. There seems to, I've been hearing from cheesemakers and cheesemongers that they sold quite a lot in the run up to the festival, which is absolutely brilliant. So yeah, it was great fun. You organise stuff like this, and then it starts happening, and it just sort of has a life of its own. And it was really good fun, just as a punter tuning in to watch these brilliant talks.
Yeah, and I think as fun. I don't know what Charlie's doing with the magic finger, but that frightens me.
I wish I brought my cheese iron, because it would go straight into Patrick's head, actually.
One of the people from one of your courses is just saying hi, Patrick. Sangeet Kaur.
Hello.
Hello. And
nice. Thanks for tuning in.
Tracy, you've got some statistics, haven't you?
Sorry?
You've got some statistics of what happened over the weekend and how people have done.
I will just feed back to you as well. Someone is suggesting, sorry, I didn't catch their name, is with the Valdion Picos Blue, Pedro Jimenez Sherry.
Yeah.
There it goes. There you go. Hannah. Yeah. So that sounds awesome, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
It's like crude oil.
Yeah, if we're rolling into British Cheese Weekend, so over the 3 days, we had nearly 8,000 visitors, just under 8,000 visitors to the website. So that, and then people viewing through the website. So that's fantastic. 8,000 people all logging on over a bank holiday weekend just to listen and hear about cheese. And they were the majority obviously were from the UK. The next top country was the USA, and then Japan, and then Canada, and then China. But in all, we had people viewing from 107 countries.
Wow.
107 countries.
Keeping it to London and a London-centric festival, it was global.
So well, I've got a couple of outtakes, if I can interrupt you, and I'd like to start with. Now, I hope I'm going to make this work. This is Charlie trying to be tech. I've got introduced with Andy Swinsko, so I'm going to start with him because he has a nice sort of summation. So let's see if we can make this work. Bumpity bum. Are we ready?
Good afternoon. I'm Andy from the Courtyard Dairy, and as part of British Cheese Weekend, I'm going to be talking about the British cheese revival and how we've gone from nothing to the vast array of farmhouse cheesemakers we've got now, which is fabulous. If I'd have been doing this talk 15 years ago, we'd have been talking about some fabulous farmhouse cheeses that are still made today that are absolutely brilliant, like Montgomery's cheddar, Keen's cheddar, and small artisan producers like Colston, Bassett, Stilton. But there wasn't many of them. The British cheese industry was on farm was very small and very negligible. It was kind of not really existing. But in the last 15 years, we have seen a resurgence. So the Courtyard Dairy, we do about 35 cheeses, of which 33 have come about since the year 2000.
I mean, Andy is a legend in his own county. Let me just put him away. But I think that introduction says a lot, Pat, in lots of ways, isn't it? The cheese we're celebrating now, a lot of the cheese we're celebrating now have been created by the very people who are still making them.
Yeah, I mean, the cheese revival in Britain started around the sort of late 80s, but really kicked on in the sort of 90s and early noughties for various reasons to do with milk quotas and the milk marketing boards, being disbanded so that farmers didn't get a set price for their milk, and suddenly they weren't getting much money for their milk, so they we better turn it into something else, and cheese was the thing. So it's been the British cheese scene has been this amazing success story, really, over the past sort of 20 years. And so when coronavirus hit, we were at risk of losing, and still are at risk of losing, this amazing success story of an industry almost overnight. I was talking to cheesemakers. I wrote an article for the Telegraph about this and sort of phoned lots of cheesemakers. They had like 40 tons of soft cheese in their cellar and literally overnight lost 85% of their sales. So, you know, I think we've come out of that period thanks to like Jamie Oliver's done a lot to promote, you know, people buying cheese from small cheesemakers. The Cheese Weekend, you know, articles from Jenny Linford and other journalists, you know, all of us on Twitter and Instagram all banging on about it. I think that's really helped, and that cheese has been shifted now, that backlog. But you know, the restaurants are not coming back anytime soon, so we need to keep going. The British Cheese Weekender was brilliant, and we all had a lot of fun. And I had a cheese coma by the end of it, which was nice. But we got to keep doing it.
Under the eyes.
Yeah. It's like you go a bit psychedelic. You know, it's like one of those hard judging days at the World Cheese Awards. But we got to keep doing it, because until the restaurants come back, these cheesemakers still need our support. And it's so easy. That's what I think. It's like you can be virtuous and help this brilliant small industry full of great characters and family businesses, and in return you get to eat loads of delicious cheese. It's a complete win-win situation. So I think that as a message of, like, you know, do your bit for the country and eat loads of delicious cheese, you can't go wrong, really.
What I think that you see in the British cheese making community is there is no resistance to innovation, is there?
No.
So they're bringing in recipes from all around the world, matching them to. We've got lots of different breeds going on in the cows and the sheep and all those things that we're making, and they're using technologies. I mean, Nigel, you and I went to see those classic Idiathable cheesemakers in San Sebastian. People have been making it the same way. Pat, you were with us as well, actually, weren't we?
Yeah, it was a good day, that.
It was fun, but it wasn't. None of that technology was new, was it? I mean, they can match what they're doing right down the line. And I've just got another clip here of let me just check of Tom Calver. Now, he's got a very traditional cheese in that it's a cheddar, but in other ways he's really innovating. So I'm just going to pop this up here and see if we can make it go. So hang on a second. Right, here we go. You ready?
We have Tina Turner, bless her, the cheese turning robot. Turning a cheese over is a necessary job, but actually the physical act of turning it over, there's nothing artisan about that. When you've got 6,000 cheeses to turn over, it just hurts.
With the introduction of Tina the Turner, we are able to taste through every single cheese within that batch. If you think about this as a great big library of flavour, every single cheese has its own unique identity.
Wow.
Too much these days, you're looking at consistency and trying to make sure that everything tastes like you had it yesterday and the day before and the day before that. I don't know. It's not that inspiring, is it?
I mean, that to me that says it all. You've got basically a young man, although I'm beginning to think everyone's young to me, who's taken one of our greatest and most historical products and brought in. He's built his cellar into a hillside from scratch, and then covered it with earth. And he has a stream coming in through the back wall that uses that to cool the things down. And he's brought in a 21st century bit of kit to turn cheese that's never been done before in the UK for cheddars. And he is allowing so that it gets him closer to being able to grade and understand and promote, as he puts, a library of flavor into it in the way that's never been done before. I mean, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I think the point there as well. I mean, I love the fact Tina the Turner is what it. I mean, just the humour that comes through the cheese industry as well. I mean, it's food and drink. It's something we should love. But there's great heritage, but also there's a marvellous modernity to it as well. But you see the two coming together, and we witnessed that this weekend. But there's some great people, and I was been tasting some cheese. Martin Gott and Nicola Robinson, and there's St James that they make at Hooker Estate. And he was, of course, influenced by James Aldridge as a young lad, and he went on to get the award for the best unpasteurized raw milk cheese. This is fantastic. They've got their own flock of sheep there, 100 of them, and these are the sticky wash rinds cheeses that they wash them in brine. They do it 3 or 4 times a week for a month. Really old traditions, but with modern technology. And as champion, people like by Andy and Kathy Swinsko at the Courtyard Dairy, they sell it because production isn't high. But when you taste these things, it's like a great piece of chocolate. You don't need a lot of it. You just think, that is amazing. And it transports you to another part of the world or another memory. And these are just remarkable tastes captured in a piece of cheese, but they're just so much more than that. And the great, brilliant eccentricity and also the talent that's available to us now. We nearly lost our great cheesemakers. It's like why Camera came together with our beer industry in these early 70s. We had about 30, 40 breweries left. We've got 2,500 now. And we nearly lost some of our arsene cheese. And thank goodness it's come back. And this weekend, we never thought it was going to happen, Pat and Tracy, but you did a great job showcasing some of these remarkable people.
Tracy, I wondered what were your highlights of were there particular videos and talks that you really loved?
Well, I was just saying to the boys before, I loved when Salaman Sam and his family did the cheese and wine for children, and it was just awesome how they handled that.
What is cheese and wine for children? That needs explaining.
So they had really, really good proper cheese, proper good artisanal cheese. And then Sam had paired it with, like Nigel tonight, some apple juice, and he'd got some, I can't remember the pairings now, but he'd got some blackcurrant and he'd got some just various soft drinks.
Cherry cola, wasn't it? He did a cherry cola.
Oh, yeah. Cherry cola. And but it was awesome. And his children were so well behaved. But then the highlight of it was that they managed to get in sound effects with cheese tasting because they added crisps to the cheese sandwich. And Sam's little boy, all he kept saying was, listen, you can hear the crunch. And he crunch. It was brilliant.
I've got to tell you, Tracy, right, before I came down, I was like, if I'm coming, because I'm in the shed at the bottom of my garden where I work, this is my cheese shed. And I thought I better have some cheese to taste. So I picked up some sharpened Washbourne, which is a sheep's milk cheese, and I was thinking about that, and I got some crisps as well. And all I could find was Thai chili crisps. This is the last bit left. Do you know what? It's quite a good match. It really is. I think we need a crisp cheese night. It would be great fun. I think we could have fun with that.
Yeah,
I'm interrupt you because we've got John Farrand is going to join us to make. It's not a party without gate crashers. John, are you ready to come in?
There's always one, isn't there?
Hey. Oh, he's looking serious. Hey,
He is.
He's got his bunting up.
Yeah, nice pair of bunting, lovely.
I don't think he can hear us. He's got the yes. Oh, he's back. He's in.
Can you hear us, JP? Take the mute off. Oh,
okay, we're gonna wait for him to interrupt us. For those that don't know John, I'm sure many of you do. John runs the Guild of Fine Food, which makes him the lead cheese, the biggest cheese for the World Cheese Awards, the Great Taste Awards.
Hello.
Hey.
How come he didn't?
oh, Jake.
Okay.
Oh, here I am. Technological issues. As you can see, my daughter's birthday only this week. What a week to celebrate your birthday with some wonderful cheese. How are we all?
Good. Very good.
Have you managed to catch up with any of the videos and events and the cheese tastings over the weekend, John?
Yes, I did. Yep. I watched my friend Nigel Barden on Friday evening. And I joined a tour of Quicks, something with the Trethowans, but yeah, no, and then we had a Sunday night kind of regroup and conclusion with the lovely Tracy, the lovely Pat, and the lovely Catherine. So that was all very jolly.
Jolly good. So the reason that you've joined us today is you will be with us next Tuesday for Tuesday night's cheese night, when we're going to be talking Great British Crumblies. But I'm hoping we will also get a chance for you to tell us about the World Cheese Awards, because that's an event you've been leading, well, not personally for 28 years, 30 years, but it's quite an institution now. And Nigel and I can talk about the chat at the front, but we're hoping to give you some, you're going to give us about where these cheeses come from, who's competing, who's winning, that kind of thing.
Yeah, love to. I listened earlier on, and you were saying about the wonderful Victoria Arresti.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that I've seen a comment from David Greenwell,
yeah.
Possibly for Pat here. Will we do it again next year?
Oh, so Tracy's shaking her head. Is it? I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, literally, Tracy and I haven't. It's Tracy and I have been the sort of done a lot of the heavy lifting with support of the guild and the academy and the SCA. But I don't know. I mean, it seemed to go so well. What I liked about it, which I was thinking, but you could do a live event maybe next year. Hopefully, you know, if we're out of lockdown, we could do something where we could all get together and do it. But one of the nice things about doing it online was you could go into the farms. So it was so lovely to see Cornwall, you know, Liner Dairies, or then go over to Suffolk and see Fen Farm. So there's something quite special about being able to, you know, Mary Quick did a talk on matching cheddar with salad leaves, which I thought on paper was not going to be the greatest. Absolutely brilliant. In her kitchen with her husband, talking about the salad she'd grown and matching it with cheddar. And I was like, of course, salad leaves. And so stuff like that was really nice. So I don't know. I think we need to work on it, really.
Well, David suggests annual. We've got Jesus here upping the ante.
Hello.
Cheese went soon. Maybe you can make it 2 or 3 times a year.
Oh, Jesus. I don't know. What do you think, Tracy?
I think we're going to need some very, very big sponsors. So if you'd like to come forward now, Patrick, I have to let you all understand that Patrick, amongst these 3.5 weeks that we did this in, was also homeschooling his children. So I wasn't allowed to talk to him until break time or lunch, after he'd had his fag behind the shed.
The bike sheds, yeah.
And so it was a little bit shaky. There was thank God for WhatsApp is all I can say.
You did a great job, and I think considering what you did in such a short space of time, it does augur very well for the future. Be it pre-recorded, live, all the different things, people around the world, the potential. I mean, look at us on our split 5 screens. You know, it just shows what is possible. And the technology in 6 weeks, we've advanced 6 years. You know, so amazing. And look at Charlie, Cat in the Hat, what he's achieved. You know, putting this together.
We've had some amazing feedback as well today from around the world. I think I forwarded a few to you, Patrick, from Texas, from Australia we're watching, and you bottom boys, John Barden and Pat at the bottom of our screens. You missed before I was saying we had people viewing from 107 countries.
Are you sitting comfortably, John?
I think John's on a delay.
I think he's on the move.
He is. Obviously, the internet is moving slowly in Dorset.
I was going to say that international thing is probably quite important, because actually exports for British cheese are really, really important for these small cheesemakers. And that's fallen off a cliff face along with all the restaurant trade. But actually exports, you know, I know for a lot of the cheddar guys, exports can be 30 or 40% of their sales to the US. So, you know, keeping sort of British cheese in the global mind is a good thing, I think, going forward, because I think makers will need it.
Well, no one can speak better for the internationalism of cheese now than John. He deals with that one, I think. Yeah, you're down. Then I mean, you routinely get 33, 34 countries sending cheeses, and those are only the ones that are allowed. There are lots of countries that can't send cheeses to your World Cheese Awards, John. I think we should do a dance while it gets there. You know, with
your cheese.
Okay.
I think it's gone.
I think you have to work on technology for next week.
Yes, I think. Do you think he's singing? Yeah, he could just be singing.
I still think he's on the loo.
Well, on that wonderful note, I'm going to say thank you very much to all the people who've joined us tonight. Thank you very much, Nigel. You've been with us for an hour. Thank you very much for your time. Say hello to your wonderful family for giving us your time.
Thank you.
Tracy, as always, keeping us on the straight and narrow. Pat, congratulations for a great weekend. You look bizarrely both fresh and tired, which I don't know how you put in there. Fantastic. Oh,
it's actually over 40 countries that entered last year would like to enter. But we've broken down some real barriers over the last.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you all the people that are watching. Thank you. Of course, we could do this and chat amongst ourselves as we do in pubs, but most of all, thank you very much. We will have sorted out our IT with the great John Farron by next week. We won't have an hour's episode just to listen to 3 comments. So on that note, I'm going to sign off from us all. So we're going to do the University Challenge thing and say good night, everybody.
Good night. Love you all.
Bye.